Welcome to the Visual Basic Instructional Series. This video will show you how to add a text box to a form. Whenever you start a project, you should always name the form using the FRM standard prefix. So we're going to just call this one Form ONE. We should also put a title on our form. We do that by clicking the text property and then typing in the title that we want to appear. When you type it, just hit Enter, and you'll see now that the default name Form 1 is replaced by a more meaningful title. On the left hand side, we have the list of tools, controls in the toolbox. I double clicked on text box to add a text box to the form. You can resize it by clicking the sizing handles and stretching it or making it more narrow, and you can move it around just by clicking and holding the mouse down and dragging it around. To deselect, click away from the text box. This time the form is highlighted. To select it again, click on it. If you want to delete a control from a form, then select it and hit the delete key. Okay, now it's gone. Let's add a text box a second way. I've clicked once on the text box control and I'm just dragging it out on the form. So you can select, then drag on the form to add a control to the form. I've selected it and I'll delete this. And the third way that you can add a control to a form is put the cursor on it and drag over to just drag and drop it. So click in the toolbox on the control you want and just drag it onto the form. Whenever you have a control that you've added to the form, there are a number of properties you need to set, and you do this with the Properties window. The Properties window has a list of properties on the left and a list of their values on the right. You can organize this list either alphabetically or by category. By category, that means we group properties that belong to a certain behavior or look or focus or whatever all together under under that particular heading. In most cases, we are just going to want to keep them alphabetical. The little plus or minus signs to the left will allow you to expand or contract groups of properties. You can navigate through this list of properties by using the scroll bar on the right. You can use the up and down arrows. You can use the page up and page down. So there are several ways to navigate. So the property name is in the left hand column and the value for that property is in the right. If you want to see all of the controls that are on your project, you can click the little arrow at the top of the Properties window and it will give you a list of all. This time we just have a form and a text box. Also, at the very bottom of the Properties window, when you click a property, you get a brief description of what that property is. Give each control a name, and you cannot use any special characters like spaces, commas, exclamation points, and that kind of thing. So I'm going to name this text box with the prefix TXT and then my text box. In order to put text into the text box, you need to select the text property. So click on the text property and then just begin to type, and you'll see stuff appear in the right hand side, and when you hit enter it will appear on your form inside the text box. If you need more space to type, then you can click the little arrow to the right of the text property and you'll have more space to type. You've got a bigger window there. Now let's look at some more properties. Let's look at making the text a color blue. To do that, we want to select the text box and we want to change the color by clicking the For Color property. Okay, that's the property that sets the color of the text. So select For Color, click the little arrow to the right and you'll get a little pop-up window, and this has 3 tabs with different colors for each type of thing. On the left, we want to click the Custom tab. You get a bunch of colors to choose from. Just click the one you want. If we want to change the way the font looks, then we want to select the Font property. You select Font and you click on the ellipsis and you get this dialog box. And you've seen this in many applications. So from here, you can pick the font face that you want. And if you begin to type, if you know of a font face such as Arial or Comic Sans, you can just begin to type that, and as you type it, then notice that the list will jump to all of the font faces that begin with those letters. So we'll select Comic Sans, we'll select Bold, and we'll select size 12. We can look at a preview right below that to see if that's what we want. If it is, we click OK. So now you see that the text in our text box is larger, so we'll need to expand the text box to see everything. So it's Comic Sans Bold size 12. Now let's set the back color. So select back color, click the custom tab, and we want to make it all yellow. So we click the yellow swatch and we have the back color set. So we have forecolor for the text, back color for the background. To see how this is really going to look, we click the little green arrow at the top on the toolbar, and this activates our project. So it's running now in a separate window. This shows the text box, and we can use this text box as kind of a little mini word processor. You can continue to type, and you'll see that the text scrolls off to the left, and we can do some minimal word processing. We can copy, we can paste, we can cut text if we want to. The home key puts your cursor at the beginning of the line, and the end key moves the cursor to the end. We can select some text just by dragging across it, and we can cut it using Control X. Then we can move to the beginning of the line. This time I'm just using the cursor, and I'll paste it in there with Control V. So Control X will cut it, Control C copies it, Control V will paste it. To stop our program from running, click the X in the upper right hand side. Let's add a second text box to our form. So I'll select the text box, click it once, and draw it out here on the form. The little lines, the blue lines on the left and right, help you to align things. Let's give it a name, starting with the standard prefix. So TXT TWO is the name of this text box. Now it's highlighted and selected. Let's add a third one. Okay, so I've selected and I've drawn it out. So now I've got a third text box. I'll use the blue lines to help me align all of these and make them the same width. Just like that. Select the third text box, give it a name. TXT3 will be fine. And now we'll run the program. Now we're going to show how the focus will move from one text box to another. So right now the top text box has the focus. I click on the second one, it now has the focus. I click on the third one, and now it has the focus. So you can change the location where the cursor is blinking just by clicking. And this is said to move the focus from one control to another. Click X to terminate that. And we're done with this project. So under the File menu, let's save everything by selecting Save All.